was like, I ordered water.
Yes.
And I was like really upset. I'm like, I don't want, $24 in like giant beer.
I know. So
And he's like, it is. I'm like,
it is a water, sure.
He's really surly about it.
I remember finding one in the staff kitchen, going, who brought this?
Right.
Somebody's getting fired.
Yes.
Well,
Somebody's
right, and
getting
it's
trouble.
funny because it does look. I probably should have thought of it.
By now, it's been around for some time.
They're
like,
selling it at
25.
Costco.
Yeah.
I feel like it's fair game. Okay.
They also sell, the snackies at Costco.
All right. I'm ready for you guys.
Jugs of vodka.
I mean, I guess we'll just call
Can't
it.
be like-
Yeah. Okay. I hereby call this River Trails School District 26 Board of Education meeting to order at 6:34 p.m. Can you please call roll?
Bianchini,
Absent.
Camardo,
Here.
Friedland here, Grimpy,
Absent.
absent, Johnson,
Absent.
Pfister,
Here.
and Ronstadt.
Here.
We have a quorum. Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion and a second to go in closed session for the matters of negotiations at 6:34 p.m. with no action to be taken upon exit.
Moved.
Second.
Moved by Camardo, second by Friedland.
We have Ronstadt,
Yes.
Pfister,
Yes,
Camardo,
Yes.
and Friedland. Yes.
motion carries. Sorry.
And there's lots like. Tonight?
Yes, but I am like, believe me, that's not really.
Yeah. Or my policy. It sounded like it's okay.
Not normally what I do.
I used to take one. And now I check mine multiple times. I even turn the sound off on my laptop, even though I don't think.
Okay, everyone back in? Alright, I'd like to entertain a motion in a second to resume an open session at 7:13 PM. Moved by Grimpy, second by Bianchini. Please call roll.
Camardo?
Yes.
Ronstadt?
Yes.
Friedland, yes. Pfister?
Yes,
Grimpy?
Yes.
And Bianchini.
motion
Yes.
passes. Oh, sorry.
Perfect.
Okay. Alright, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance by rising if you can. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first up is the consent agenda. Looking over the consent agenda, are there any items that a member would like to remove and further discuss? Or is there a question of clarification? Hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda in its entirety, which includes the following: Board of Education meeting minutes from July 21st, 2026, the personnel report, actual payrolls, bills, and checks.
So,
Moved by Grimpy,
Second.
second by Friedland.
Bianchini?
Yes.
Camardo?
Yes.
Grimpy?
Yes.
Pfister?
Yes,
Ronstadt?
Yes.
And Friedland, yes.
motion carries. I'd like to invite the RTA members to approach the board with any comments at this time. Good evening.
Good evening, thank you. On behalf of our TEA President Bob Kastner and the entire membership, I want to thank the board members and district administrators who participated in our recent contract negotiations. We appreciate the time and effort you put into this very hard work, and we feel proud of what we were able to accomplish together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd also like to recognize any members of the audience to approach the board with their comment or question by completing a visitor comment card. Please do note that the board and administration typically does not respond, and if you wish for a response, please provide your name and number or email for a member of the board or administration to get back to you. Speakers are encouraged to limit their time for others to participate, a 3-minute time limit per speaker with an overall 60-minute maximum for visitor comments per policy 2230. No visitors. Okay, next up is open agenda for board member communications. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share?
Yeah, so I had a chance to go to the Boxwood Bash, and I just want to compliment both the administration and all of those that participated in getting school supplies out and backpacks and just an army of things to our students. It was amazing. And what was equally amazing is it appeared as we were running out, and superhero Karen Daly, one of our principals, just says, "I have this," and comes back with boxes and boxes more of things for our students. So it was an amazing day. I know we were visited by one of the state reps, which was great. Just a lot of really great, just attitude. The kids were just so grateful. The families were so grateful. It was just such a great community event. And then also Bill and I and Becky got to go to the new teachers orientation on Monday morning, which was also wonderful to see all the bright and energetic new faces that have come aboard. So looking forward to working with them. That was just a great event as well.
I would just add that my kiddos attended Camp Invention, which was a STEAM camp at Euclid. This is their second year attending or participating in it. Rave reviews. They said it was better than the first year. The projects were more in depth and more challenging. They learned so many new things. So thank you to the staff and the teachers who put in that work and that extra week. It was kind of like back to school because it was a full day, but they had a great time.
Can I tell you what my favorite part of that was? Was the slap bracelet that also had wheels. I think our household had that thing on lockdown for like an hour. I mean, it was just, anyways, it was very neat.
Anybody else?
I'll just note that today is the 5th birthday of Prairie Trails. We cut the ribbon 5 years ago.
Happy birthday, Chipmunks. Okay, next on the agenda is district recognition of Ms. Katie Vanek. I'm gonna invite Christy up.
Nope.
Oh, Carrie, yay!
Turn it on, Carrie. Now you're making things hard.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. There we go. Okay. It is my pleasure to recognize Katie Van Eck tonight for all of the work she did. Katie was our summer school administrator. And I want to just take this opportunity to recognize her and all the work she did and give you a little insight into what it takes to run summer school while also working as a full-time music teacher. So we're going to go into this a little bit. There's a lot of fun facts, and it was a pleasure getting to know Katie, working with her at IG and getting to know her both as a Gen Ed rep in some of the meetings with me. Is always a pleasure, but getting to work summer school where we're really doing a lot of planning, a lot of communication, and being there every day together, it was a great opportunity to get to know her even better. So I'm thrilled to take this opportunity to recognize her tonight. Katie's been in the district for 17 years as our music teacher. I'm not going to read all of this, but you can see that her inspiration came from one of her own elementary teachers, which really put her on the path to going into education. Christy had asked Katie to just reflect on a few things and answer a few questions, and so that's what this information is. And she shared that she really enjoys collaborating with teachers, getting to know students across the district, so as much as she gets to know the students at IG throughout the course of the year, coming together in summer school where they're coming from all the different buildings and getting to know them is a lot of fun. Also, taking this admin role is a great way to step into that leadership piece and the organization, and we'll talk a little bit about what goes into that. Key lessons that she shared is that summer school really, this being the second year that she ran summer school, appreciating the flexibility of staff, the experience that some of our staff has. As you'll see later, we do have staff that comes back year after year. And so, you know, we had some simple things like being at IG for the first time this year, we needed to figure out how to communicate to parents where to go, where to park. Some of the weather was not friendly to us, and we needed to have a car lane for ESY that was separated at some point from the other car lane. And it was just simple things like, you know, Katie going and getting a music rack. We're going to put a sign up so that we have communication for families. So it's just that on the spot, making those decisions and then leaning a little bit on staff to help us out as needed. We wanted to give you a little bit of information about what it takes to run summer school. So this is just a snippet of it. There's so much that goes into it. We'll talk on the next slide, the timeline of when we really start having these conversations. But Katie really did an amazing job with developing the schedule, communicating, hiring staff,
making sure they had the training needed for whatever their role was, onboarding, and just all that logistics that goes into keeping everyone engaged and safe for the course of our summer programming. Tons of coordination, communication, collaboration, and forward thinking for what ifs. What if the weather doesn't cooperate? What if the community partners, which are wonderful, some of the kids can't sit in there, so what are we going to do or can't manage? So that flexibility piece. This graphic shows, it shows, you know, the spinning plates and the juggling, and that's really what we ask Katie to do each year, because as she's planning, starting in January we start planning for summer school, she's still teaching full-time. And as you'll see in some of these bullet points, she's planning for performances and choir rehearsals, end-of-the-year concerts, while also really being knee-deep in planning for the summer and really creating those partnerships with the community and scheduling and what are we going to do. So again, this year being a little bit different, we've done summer school and Prairie Trails for the last several years. This was the first time again that we moved it to IG. It took a little more planning, but it ended up being great for students and for staff. So just a little bit of a visual of what all that goes into everything. And the last slide really summarizes just, again, a small portion of the skills that Katie brings to the table. Collaboration, being authentic, truly understanding the job, being able to communicate, following through, and always being student focused. So we thank you, Katie, for all that you've done for us, for your leadership, for continuing to be in this role, and for making summer school so successful for our students.
You know, Katie, I would have made you stand up there with me. So, do you have?
Yeah, and I'm sure the board members would love to shake your hand to say thank you. So I'm going to give that to you. Thank you.
Katie, while you're taking the tour, I just want to say I loved your reflection that you wrote on the slide about trusting your team was one of the biggest lessons, and I love that we can give these opportunities because those are the things that you just can't learn until you jump into a role like this. And I'm sure that you got more freedom this year than you did last year because now you're in year 2, but I love being able to give opportunities and have you see that because that is a very tricky part of leadership, right? How much do you hover? How much do you stand back? And you've got to trust the team that you put together. And if something goes wrong, well, we learn from it, but it's a tricky balance. So I really like that reflection, and I've loved watching you grow into yourself as a leader and in these opportunities in the district. So thank you.
Thank you. No, not yet.
Not yet?
We have one more
Okay.
recognition. You want me to read this, right? The higher up.
Oh, yeah.
We had a very generous donation, so we want to say thank you to Higher Up Ministries. Their generous donation of $1,125 in Jewel and Amazon gift cards for those families identified by the administration who were in need of some assistance for back to school time. So thank you.
Higher Up Ministries has been, I brought them to a board meeting several times just to thank them, but they are also the organizers of the Boxwood Bash and organizing all of the supplies and the backpacks and things like that. I started working with them during COVID, where they were giving the district gift cards at that time, and I was mailing them out to families. So they have been a very generous, long-standing partner of the district, and they love us. They're just wonderful. So thank them very much for all they do for us. Mm-hmm.
Now staying on summer school review trends, Dr. Seifert.
All right, so you're going to get to hear from Ms. Van Heck again in just a short minute, but we are here tonight just to, as we have in previous years, just to share a summary of the work that's been going on in the district over the course of the summer, some opportunities that were afforded to staff and to students alike. So we're here to tell you about those 3 things. So you're going to see things kind of color-coded here. This looks very similar to last summer. Last summer we stood up here, we were sharing a very large long summer together last summer, and Dr. Megerly challenged us early in January to say, what can we do to keep our kids occupied over the course of the summer? We've got a really long summer, and we want to make sure that their time is being well spent. And so we came up with some innovative programs, some new programs, at all 3 different aspects of our summer school that we were able to, again, replicate this year with just a few minor changes. So tonight we're going to summarize those for you. We have some special guests here with us this evening who, as Dr. Megerly has said, had the opportunity to take on some leadership roles and take on the leadership of these programs. So we're going to let them speak about those programs, and I will share some information on the RTMS middle school enrichment camps. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Katie Van Eck, and she's going to tell you some more details about our summer school program that ran in June at Indian Grove.
Thank you. Me again. As Dr. Seifert said, my name is Katie Van Eck, and I was the administrator for summer school and extended school year this past June. This year, our location was Indian Grove, as you heard, a change from last year when we were at Prairie Trails. Classes started on Wednesday, June 10th, and ended on Tuesday, June 30th, for a total of 14 school days. We had 88 students in our program this year, down from 101 last year. Student attendance averaged 81%, and about half of the students missed only 1 day or had perfect attendance. Our programming focused on activities that would best support our special education students, our multilingual learners, and our intervention students. And our staff consisted of 3 office staff, 13 certified staff, and 7 support staff. And as Dr. Seifert said, many of whom have worked summer school or ESY before. Is it this middle button? Oh, wait, the arrow on the right. Oh, there you go. Okay, so you can see the staff members listed there. Jocelyn Vasquez was our secretary, Stephanie Rubinkowski was our nurse, and many of our teachers were returning from previous years, as well as support staff. Our theme this summer was Learning is an Adventure, and each teacher found unique ways to incorporate that theme into his or her daily lessons. In addition to our focus on academics, we had some special guests visit this year. The students enjoyed a bike safety presentation from Mount Prospect Police Officer Greg Sill, 2 visits from the Mount Prospect Public Library, and an engaging health and wellness lesson from Ola Adiola, a student at Herzing University. Each class also had PE or recess every day, participated in a scavenger hunt, as well as a challenging adventure course in the gym on the second to last day. So at the end of our 14-day session, parents were surveyed and we received some helpful feedback. Overall, parents were satisfied with the length of the program as well as the length of each school day. Nearly all survey responders said their child made academic progress and thought summer school was a beneficial use of their time. Many families chose to utilize the bus transportation and found it to be helpful. We did notice that fewer families sent their students to the Park District camp than in previous years. And this slide just shows how the feedback compares to previous years' surveys. So pretty similar. And as Carrie said, it sounds like we were at Prairie Trails the last 3 years and Indian Grove this year. We also surveyed the staff and we're happy to learn that they were mostly very happy to be working summer school this year. They did enjoy being at Indian Grove. They found the building to be spacious and suitable for their needs, and they liked the adventure theme. Some noted that they wish the fire department had visited, so we will try to bring them back next year, visited with the truck. That's always a hit. And similarly, this is how our staff feedback compares to previous years. Again, pretty similar. Not every staff member responds, but we do get responses. When Dr. Seifert, Dr. Cohen, and I met to debrief after summer school ended, we reflected on this year's program and shared our thoughts for the future. We all agreed that Indian Grove was a great location, and we noted how smoothly the bus ran this year. It was no issues with the bus. We celebrated our dedicated staff as well as all the gains the students made as a result of their hard work. We also brainstormed ways to improve student attendance, and after discussion, we identified some action steps to consider for next year. In addition to bringing in community partners, we also thought about potentially inviting district staff to come and share something special with the students, such as an art activity or a science project or anything else. And going forward, we will continue to plan programming over the summer that best meets the needs of our students and families. Thank you.
So transitioning over to our middle school programs, we did offer 2 sessions of summer enrichment camp here at River Trails Middle School. And those sessions were one in June and one in July. And you may recall last year we were able to offer a 3rd session in August, and we thought with the turnaround of the calendar this year and staff interest, we really just could not, we couldn't structure a 3rd session for August this year, so we just ran 2. We had several topics, which you'll see on several slides this evening, and we were able to pull all of this off with only 2 office staff, one being Principal Henkel, who works the entire summer as well, 6 certified staff for session 1, and 6 certified staff for session 2. So we were really able to do this on kind of a very small staffing basis and still offer some fantastic opportunities to our students. One of the pieces that we were challenged to look at doing this year was to shorten our sessions and offer the students a little bit more variety within their day. So we implemented what we called mini sessions that were about an hour and a half with a 15-minute break in the middle, and students could participate in 2 different types of learning experiences throughout just a 1-week session. And at first it was a little bit of a challenge to figure out the logistics, but it actually went really well, and we had great feedback from our staff. You can see here, any staff with an asterisk after their name, they taught both sessions in June and July, many of them taking on all 4 of those different breakout groups. So here are some of the courses that we offered this year. We had Edible Science with Mr. Stokes, Masterpiece Studio with Mr. Feltman. Ms. Como ran a wrestling camp during our time slots this year. Mr. Sears led a basketball camp and a flag football camp. And Mrs. Polenzani and Mrs. Steigerwald came back with their ever-famous Garden Tour Gourmet, which is the only 3-hour block class that we do offer in the summer. And they kind of moved the students through that in 2 separate sessions throughout the day. Some of those repeated themselves in session 2 in July. However, we also brought crime scene investigators, with Mr. Stokes switched it up a little bit and took on a crime lab. We offered a soccer camp with Mr. Sears, and also Ultimate Frisbee with Mr. Sears. Unfortunately, that was the week of smoke Armageddon. I don't know what we want to call it, from the wildfires coming down from Canada. So that foiled our plans a bit to be outside. However, we made the best of it in our nice, warm, toasty, small gym. But we did the best that we could. So here's some pictures for you to see. One of those is a repeat from last year, the top art picture, just because I think it's one of the coolest art projects I've ever seen kids create, and I had to leave it on there. But you'll see kids making bird feeders. They did that with Mrs. Polenzani in Garden to Gourmet. They're out of the garden, they're at volleyball camp, and they're doing some 3D art there down on the bottom. This is a little AI work that Mr. Stokes sent to me after he did his first session with his food science, some of the different activities and things that they did within that class, and he wanted me to make sure that I shared that with you tonight so that you could not only be excited by his class, but also see he's improving his technological skills with all of the AI options that we have. So post-reflection, the 2-block schedule was great. Teachers loved it. They said it was the perfect amount of time to keep kids engaged and keep them having fun. Giving the kids a little break in the middle, I think, was re-energizing for them, and the teachers had that opportunity to re-energize as well. High interest, great opportunity again for our 6th grade students to walk in the doors for the first time and experience the middle school, and we have a very dedicated staff. We did notice, I know Katie referenced it as well, we've had a drop in enrollment this summer in all of our programs across the board. I think a lot of that, just we had a very short summer this summer, and families were busy, and we just didn't have as high of an interest as we did last year. However, the people that came wanted to be here and they were excited to be here. So we want to continue to ponder what classes are we offering, get some student input on that. I know as part of our strategic plan we're really working to listen to student voice. So hear what our students want to learn about over the summer, and that might also give us a boost to attendance. Maybe consider opening to more grades. It's not something that we've done in the past, run enrichment camps for younger grades, but it might be something that we could consider. And then of course we always reevaluate the cost of what we're doing in order to try to remain cost neutral. So from that, I'm going to turn it over to our wonderful directors of Camp Invention.
Good evening. Hello. I'm Janine Wagner.
Natalia Gravney.
We both were directors, co-directors for the Camp Invention program this summer. Last week, actually. The topics that we had were different. Each year they have different STEM topics and different modules that they cover. So we had something called the Infringers, Make Waves, Forensics, and Space Morphers. The Infringers was so cool. It was my favorite because it combined decoding, they had decoder wheels, and creating something that, I think that was a slap bracelet with wheels that could actually race and roll and have an engine, which was awesome. Make Waves was a lot of different buoyancy activities. Every teacher had a mini pool in the classroom and they were able to test out their designs. They made boats at the end, a lot of decorating. Forensics, we had a little snafu with some things that weren't allowed to have batteries in them, but we had capybara projects that were very fun, and they were able to learn about the inner workings of mechanical items and also habitats, and there was a crime scene investigation to decide based on paw prints, and it was really cool. Space Morphers was really interesting. I didn't get to see that one as much, but I know that what they did was they learned a lot about the planets. They had some different tools to put together, different models. They
built a rocket, which they decorated and launched, and then they built an exoplanet in teams, as well as some trees that kind of grew a mold.
It was really interesting. It was crystallization.
From the water.
Really
so
cool. We had, both of us were the co-directors. We had 8 teachers that were there, and we did have one-on-one aid. Our biggest help were the 16 LIT leader and training students from the middle school that we had this summer, and that was not double. Last year we had 10, so we increased it so that teachers could have an assistant in their room as much as possible to get all of these hands-on projects organized and ready and cleaned up for the next group. And then we also had camp leaders that rotated with all of the different campers. Oh, thank you. Middle button?
Arrow, right arrow.
Right arrow?
There you go.
Covered. So I think from our last slide, our camp was all day, right from 9 to 3, Monday through Friday. And then a lot of our staff, similarly to summer school, were returning staff members. I think we had about 2 that were new. And then our leaders in training program is the area that probably had the most change from last year. So last year, as Jimmy mentioned, we only had 10 leaders in training, and they were all either serving as floaters, so kind of moving around the building, moving around the camp and helping out, or serving as camp leaders. So they would have their own group of campers that they were in charge of. They would take attendance and kind of help the students transition throughout their day. And so we still had 8 of those camp leaders, but we also had 8 teachers' assistants this year. And so those students got to work one-on-one with the teacher the whole week and really get to know the module that teacher was teaching. So they kind of had a different level of responsibility, and we felt that was great because we also had a lot of returning LITs. So maybe they had already been a camp leader and wanted to try something new. And we had really good feedback from both teachers, the LITs themselves, and families with that new offering this year.
Yeah, we haven't digested all of our feedback yet. We just sent out on Friday, with our Friday newsletter, survey. So some people have responded, but we haven't gotten together to look through all of it, so we can't give you any direct concrete feedback and numbers and whatnot, but, overall, so far it was really positive. The comments that we got face to face were really positive again. Also, we also had, one student had to take over, one of our teacher assistant LITs had to take over in the afternoon for one of our teachers who had a little bit, nothing scary, but a little bit of a medical situation that she had to go attend to. And we went in the room to take over the course. However, we were quickly told that he's got it. He watched it twice in the morning, and he had it all set up, ready to go, and he took over. He knew exactly what to do. He took command of the classroom. He
allocated jobs to Janine and I.
To us as well. He was on top of it, and I tell you, we took video of it because we were blown away with pride. Like, we were so proud of him for doing that, and he did it again on the next group, and it was amazing, really amazing. So the leadership program is near and dear to our hearts too, not just the camper program, because we saw such growth for kids, especially those leaders that returned from last year and came back again. Their growth and maturity and the way they took charge this year was very heartwarming. So hopefully that can grow and continue. Yeah. Here are some the explanations of our 4 different modules that we had. This is directly from the site because we purchased the curriculum from the National Inventors Association or Center for National Inventors. I can't remember what it exactly wording it is, but it's always cool and it always changes every year. They have 4 new modules that we can take part in. And then just some of our photos from our fun adventures and builds.
And then the photos of each of our groups. So the top 4 groups are our younger groups. That's students from 1st grade, 2nd grade, and some of 3rd grade. And then the bottom 4 pictures are our older campers. So some of 3rd grade, and then 4th and 5th.
And we both loved it. It was the fastest week.
It really was.
It was a fast week. Yeah, fast and furious, but really fun. And the weather held out for us. The weather and the smoke. We were clear and we went outside every day. So it was very fun. So thank you.
Thank you guys. Any questions?
I apologize, I should have submitted these, but for the summer school, and it's more just a question, and you don't need to answer it right now if you don't have the information. It ran over the course of 3 weeks because of the holidays and stuff, but did it, because I was just curious if it was the same length of time, because I couldn't remember last year's. I'm sorry.
Yeah, same number of days. Unfortunately, we had to hover over an additional weekend because we got out of school a little bit later this year. We had orientation right away that next Monday, and then we kicked off with camp that Wednesday, if memory serves me correctly. Yes.
Okay.
And then we finished on a
Juneteenth.
Tuesday.
Okay.
And then we had Juneteenth off on the 19th.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so it ran about the same length of time.
Yeah.
And did it run at about, I'm so sorry that I can't remember this from last year. Did it run right about the same time almost?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Yep, it sure did. And we use title funding to fund our summer school. So because title funding wraps by June 30th, we do our very best to try to put summer school prior to June 30th before all of our rates and everything change and we hover over to fiscal years.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I know it did feel like a short summer. I think it's normal, but thank you. I know everyone else is enjoying summer, but the schools have been very busy. When I drive by the middle school or in Grove, the parking lots are full. So thank you for all your work. I feel like students got so many great experiences this summer to grow in different ways that they don't in the school year. So thanks.
Thanks. Thank you.
Anything else for
staff report set next. This is for information.
Okay, so I am excited to start off with a preview of the school year. Yesterday, I was going to say last week, but it was just yesterday, we welcomed our new teachers and some new staff. They are in the house yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Probably getting way too much information, but I got to spend a good hour, a couple hours with them in the morning, just giving them a little bit of background on the district and some of the things that are important to us and our mission and vision, and kind of just laying the foundation of what it's like to be a staff member here in District 26. And so I always value that time with new folks because I want them to know what they're signing up for. I want them to know what we're about. And so it's always a nice time just in a small group being able to do that. So I wanted to provide you with all of the names of all of our new staff, so you'll see that in the presentation. Prairie Trails wins this year, and I think is adding one more. I think they had one more to add. And then there they are. It's probably one of the nicest pictures we've ever taken on opening day. So yeah, it's a small but mighty new group of new staff. We have a blend of I would say most of them. There's a handful with 1 year experience, and then there's another handful with several years experience. So definitely a mixed bag there. And then we have some people moving around, and Stephanie put this together, which I think is cute, especially for opening day. One of the great things about our district is that staff do want to go check out other buildings. And so we have lots of teachers who have moved around in the past and continue to do so. So I know you know most of these moves, but we have Megan Thompson and Olga Adams coming over to the middle school, Megan from Euclid and Olga from Indian Grove. So they are excited for that opportunity. Elia, who is a staple here at the middle school, I keep having to walk down to the Prairie Trails office and look at her because it's just different seeing her there. So she's learning to unwind a little bit. No scheduled pickup this week, just very different, but she's definitely settling in over there. We have Katie Fitzgerald, who is the new ACE teacher over at Euclid. She's coming from Indian Grove. Caitlin was actually an assistant at Euclid, is moving into a teacher role, so that's exciting for her. And Colleen Nolter is coming from Prairie Trails over to Euclid. So that's quite a few moves, internal moves for us this year. So as I mentioned, we have new teachers, certified, licensed staff, 10th, 11th, and 12th. And then on Friday, we are hoping to have all of our ESPs hired. So we're doing a mini onboarding orientation for our ESP staff on Friday morning. And then we have all staff coming on the 17th and 18th, and then the kiddos on the 19th. So I will be spending some time with them Monday morning. We're all here at River Trails. And so we're going to talk, I'm going to talk about, last year we talked about opening the door. And when I unpackaged that to the staff on opening day, it was, opening the door, but also like opening your mind, opening your hearts to thinking differently about maybe people in your classroom or visiting other people in classroom. Really just leveling up that collaboration. So this year we are encouraging staff to keep the door open, but go beyond the door. And so that is the image they will see. I'm going to use a little bit of a metaphor with the redwood trees and their root system. If you're not familiar, redwoods have very shallow roots and they're all interconnected. And so it's a metaphor really for River Trails School District and the collaboration and the support that we need to give each other to continue to move beyond the door. And it can be scary, and you might not know what is beyond that door, but we will do it together. So that's kind of a little sneak peek of the big motivational speech for Monday. Other than that, it's been busy in the district office, really just, Christy doing a lot of organization for opening days and welcoming new teachers. Communications have slowed a bit now, but registration, residency, transportation, lots of reminders to register. I think we had to drop about 9 kids due to no registration, and most of the time that means that they've moved. We just don't know, but sometimes that means that they just haven't registered. So we will show up eventually, and we'll get them registered and put in a class. So lots of communications. Facilities are busy putting together classrooms and doing all those finishing touches so that teachers can get in and start getting organized. Technology, re-imaging, rebooting, lots of final touches for technology. I talked about staffing, onboarding, and screening new substitutes this week. So I'm happy. I think I have 6 interviews, which is good. And most of them already have a teaching license or a sub-certificate, which is kind of strange, but that's great because that means they will be ready to go. Open house dates, put those on your radar. I know most of you have kiddos of your own to go to open house dates. I did put in my weekly a list of the board events and activities. So if you have a moment to get into that doc and add your name, I'll have a table up like I do every year, and we will mix and mingle at the open houses. You want me to leave that up for a second? Okay, good, yeah. And then, thank you again for your continued partnership. Looking forward to an incredible new school year. I can't believe it's time already.
A quick question. Maybe you already said it, but what building and what time on Monday is your motivational speech, and are we invited?
Oh gosh, you're always
I was
invited.
going to ask that same question.
We are here. Breakfast is from 7:30 to 8:30. We're here at the middle school, and then I will start about 8:30 until about 9:15.
Is breakfast included in the invite?
Always.
All right.
Always. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be that motivational, but no, I'm just kidding. It's always a fun energy seeing staff on the first day. So yes, please come if you're available. Any questions before? Sorry, I want to keep going on my other items here.
I think you're good.
Okay.
For next up, we got an SSEO update.
Yes, so I had an NSSEO operational meeting, I think now a couple of weeks ago. The majority of that meeting was just a report out from teaching and learning and some of the work of the task force. Being a summer meeting, there wasn't much on the agenda. They're working on having their final vote for their contract. So nothing pressing from NSSEO. And then the final piece in the board book is this policy that we talked about at our policy meeting this last week. So policy 370 talks about the board approving a succession authority plan. So if I'm out of the building or if I'm not available, the board is to approve basically the succession of who is in charge when I'm out of the building. So put together a memo for you of who the order would be. Basically starts with cabinet because they don't have the responsibilities of day-to-day building, running the building. And then Mr. Timmons is on there down the list. And there's a note that Dr. Seifert and Mr. Timmons are both superintendent certified if there's ever a decision or a call that needs to happen in my absence or in Dr. Seifert's absence.
That will be on the consent agenda next month.
Yes. Any questions about that? And that concludes my report.
Thank you. All right, next up is business services, Mr. Ryan Berry. First up is staffing and enrollment update.
So this is
Well, maybe we'll do one more next month, but this is, you should be very used to seeing this. Overall enrollment is the same as it was when this came out last Thursday. But of the classrooms, we're still monitoring. We're not looking to add a teacher in any of the schools. Overall, compared to last year, Euclid is down 6 students from where they were at the end of the school year. Indian Grove down 26 students. And at Prairie Trails in kindergarten, they're up 6 students. But overall, when looking at some of those high, what appears to be high class sizes in Euclid, Indian Grove, for the 4th and 5th grade classes, we do take ACE students out during English language arts and math, where those class sizes, when those students are removed, is averaging between 20 and 22 or 23 students actually in the classroom during those core subjects. And then Prairie Trails, we're still under an average of 20 students in kindergarten coming up for the school year. Overall, our guidelines are usually between 18 and 20 is what we're looking for. So we're starting the school year within those guidelines.
So I know class size is always a tricky balance, and I know that it's a sensitive topic. A few years ago, we established some class size guidelines to work with our administrators. So in the past, we had none of that. And so it would really, the way that it would play out is it would be up to the building principal to ask for a section. And so sometimes they would get it, sometimes they wouldn't get it. But then over time, you see one building completely discrepant from another in terms of staffing because one principal would ask every year. And so we needed to clean that up, and we needed to come up with something that provided clarity in terms of when a principal should ask for another staff member instead of just asking every year. And so we've been using a guideline to welcome a conversation when we get to a certain point of students. And so when you look at this chart, like this is exactly what you'd want to see. You want to see a progression of, the smaller, younger grade levels being smaller in size than the older grade levels. It always gets tough when we get to the upper end of that conversation, a threshold. So our target number for kindergarten is 18 to 20 in a class. School starts in a few days. We're getting to that upper close to 20 in every class, and so that I know that stresses people out. At this point in the year, we then also balance that with what kind of candidates are available, what kind of disruption would adding another staff member make to 5-year-olds who have already been assigned a teacher and so on. There's a trickle and a ripple effect to just adding staff members. So there is a point, kind of like that point of no return, that we may, 3 weeks ago we were looking at 116 kids in kindergarten, and now we have 119. That fluctuates all summer. And so we kind of get to this point where it's like, okay, we know we're getting close to where we don't want to be, but we're not quite there yet. And school starts in a few days. And so that's a hard decision to not continue to add staff, but we have to have some sort of guideline for decision making. And so, yes, we do have a couple of classes that are getting to that upper end, but adding a teacher in 4th grade would then bounce those kids down to like 15 or 16 in a class. I can't have 4th grade classes being smaller than kindergarten classes. So just a little background in terms of like the thinking, the weighing of, when to hire, when not to hire, and just how we use those class size guidelines. I don't know if that's helpful, but I do know it's a sensitive and a tough topic.
Yeah, I think it's helpful to hear that, and then, I think the concern is like this, it could go down, right? People could move out of district in the year, it could go up, so you would still welcome conversations from the building, say we need more resources, maybe it's not a teacher, but we need more resources, or we need to relook at like getting additional help.
Yeah, certainly. we do have a number of ESPs, and so we staff the classrooms to have some extra support. If it got to a point, you know, we would look at our internal resources and how can we be creative or allocate those internal resources before we would go hiring external. And I talked about this a few years ago. Prairie Trails is one of the toughest buildings because they have one grade level. In the other buildings, I have the flexibility of maybe rolling a teacher up or rolling a teacher back. And so to hire somebody only to fire them the next year is not also a practice that I want to do regularly either. I want to solidly know that if we're going to add a staff member, it's for the long term. And so that is another piece of the puzzle that is a little bit different, I think, with Prairie Trails, because they just don't have other grade levels to be able to move and flex people.
Is like a first or third grade teacher not able to flex back?
Well, when they're in the same building, like generally that class will roll up.
Okay.
So that teacher, instead of losing that teacher, they'll roll up with the class. Do you know what I mean? So like if you look at, like, well, there's not a good example on the chart.
Well, they did with second grade a few years ago where they had a second grade that then the teacher rolled up to third and then that teacher rolled up to fourth, I think.
Mhm.
And so like that teacher was able to still stay in the same school, but what Joey's trying to say is like it would be hard to transition from Prairie Trails and then move all of your stuff to a new school.
It's the stuff, okay.
Well, and the fact that you have
Well,
to
and
get to
there might
know
not
all
be
the
a,
new.
yeah, there might not be a
Right.
spot in that new school.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think it's more than just stuff.
I will put out, I mean, I think that's a very solid explanation, and there's obviously a lot of thought and consideration that goes behind that. You know, I was looking at this and thinking, you know, some of these classrooms, I appreciate Mr. Berry's explanation that, you know, some of these averages in fifth grade and the eighth grade, you know, being 28.8, that was really kind of like, wow, that's not great. And you know, understanding that some of those kids get pulled out is helpful to keep those class averages, you know, low. But it's also a balance, right? I mean, it's budget, and it's, you know, ideally you have, you know, a perfect world, you have one teacher to one student, you know, but that doesn't work that way. So, you know, it is finding a balance. I think that the guidelines that you put together are quite directive in helping to explain that to everybody. You know, I don't discourage continuing to look at those always. You know, if there's any place that, you know, any place that makes sense to spend any more money, it's reducing that ratio, because most of the science shows that, you know, the smaller the ratio, the better the outcomes. And, you know, of course, we all know, as you pointed out too, that a smaller ratio at the younger grades, you know, we all know that pays dividends for their future educational map. So that's that.
Mr. Murphy has a question.
Does this reflect those students or those families that didn't register?
The drops, yeah.
Yes, yes.
So they all could still go up. Well, not all, but the total would go up by 9 if we find those families and they didn't register.
It could. It's across first three.
Right. Yeah, it's not one grade, of course. Okay, thank you.
And I'm only one member here, of course, but, you know, again, that's something I'm very supportive of, is keeping class sizes small. So if there's a range, or there's, you know, you get into some of that gray area where it's like, should we not? Like, if there's any place that I'm gonna be supportive to spend some more dollars, that's a good place to do it. So just put that out there, that when you get into those pickles, that at least from my standpoint, I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but if there's some room there, then that's a good place to do it.
Thank you for the conversation and helping us understand and all the information. I think it's helpful to be on the same page, and I would echo, like, just keeping those ratios in mind and sharing them out, I think, is helpful. All right, so next up, still under business services is the COPS grant, and this is going to be for information and then action tonight as well.
Dr. Megerly and I helped apply for the 2026 COPS grant. We were accepted for the COPS grant, I believe, back in 2022, and it helped provide all of the electronic strike door locks at Euclid and Indian Grove, as well as more interior cameras and exterior lighting at both Euclid and Indian Grove during those construction projects. So we applied again. Basically the action tonight is we're asking if we are accepted that the board would approve up to $150,000 of local money be used to help fund the projects in the grant. So projects in the grant are electronic strikes at both prairie trails and river trails. Potentially new doors might be needed at some of those locations in order to do those electronic strikes, as well as mapping that the police department would use in order to help, I guess not have access to the schools, but to better allow the police officers a better understanding of the layout of the schools if there was an emergency in the future.
So this is an action item, so I'll entertain a motion in a second, and then we can ask questions. Entertain a motion in a second to authorize the administration to formally accept the 2026 COPS SVPP grant if awarded, and commit the required $150,000, 25% of the grant, for local matching funds.
Moved.
Second.
Moved by Bianchini, second by Friedland. Call the roll. Or no,
Oh, I
do
was
you have
opening it to
questions, or, yes, Mr. Gregby?
Is the 150,000 budgeted anywhere, or where is that coming from?
It's not currently, but I think if accepted, there's a lot of work to be done before we would actually be spending a lot of that. At earliest, I think doing some of these projects would be summer 2027, which would be in next year's budget, and it allows us to recoup money as we go along, as long as we spend it. A quarter of the overall cost is with the board at the time, so it could be spread out over an additional 3 years. In which case, there are just other interior projects that would get pushed aside potentially.
Thank you.
Anybody else have questions?
The schools are the middle school and the elementary ones, or?
The middle school and Prairie Trails, because those two schools don't have the electronic strike classroom door handles. So the two elementary schools right now, in order to get, if the door is shut, in order to get in, you have to have a key fob in order to get in. There is key access, but I won't tell you who's got the keys, because otherwise, there's going to be trouble. But it's a very select few amount of people. So most of the project is based on creating those security door locks at this school and Prairie Trails, but the mapping would be district-wide.
And does the 600,000 total, is that enough to do everything, or that's more than what we need, so it's prorated, we spend 100, get 400, and then everything's covered, if that makes sense,
Yeah, the deadline with the cement, we think it's enough to cover everything. That's what we're planning for. I think even there might be enough to cover some new doors that we might need.
So there's additional things that we could use that money for, other than just the key strikes and the mapping.
Right, because it's the key strikes, it's the mapping, but with the key strikes come completely new door handles, gateways, which are, the door strikes connect to, and then it connects to the, infrastructure, the technology infrastructure of the building. So it covers everything for that project.
Okay. Clarification questions, thanks.
Yeah.
And you said that we can collect this as we go. We don't have, so once we spend it, we'll get reimbursed, and then.
Correct.
Okay. Up to that 450,000.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
In 3 years to do that. timeframe.
I believe it's at least 3 years, correct?
Any other feedback, questions?
One more question.
Okay.
For Prairie Trails, that's the the hallway doors, not the exterior doors. Or are we doing something to those exterior doors as well?
Correct. Just the interior doors is what we're looking at. Just about every exterior door at Prairie Trails has a key fob, with the exception of the exit doors from the classrooms. Those do not have handles on them from the outside.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for identifying this grant. It's hard to, you know, for $150,000, up to $150,000 contribution to get $450,000 worth of possible grant money to offset safety improvements for schools, and tracking is a good spend. Just the only question is just making sure, or just getting it budgeted for in the right bucket. So if you're kind of applying this and ready for 2027,
I mean, 2027, I would love to do it in 2027, but I don't know if we'll totally get there. I mean, realistically, you know, it's a grant that we had received in the past. Dr. Meggerly did all of the legwork. I just had the passwords to plug it in. So, I mean, you know, she did that. She got the recommendation letter from the Mount Prospect Police Department that we were able to upload for the grant. So, it is a great opportunity. You know, obviously, we'd love to take advantage of.
okay, so as you make recommendations that go towards this grant, how will those come to the board, or will they come to the board for approval? So say you go get a quote to put these on all the doors at a school, what's the process?
Yes, so the quotes, you know, we would still need to bid out because the project cost would be so large, so we'd still need to bid it out. All the project costs would still need to be approved by the board, regardless. For the last grant, we were able to use some of the project costs that the board approved at Euclid and Indian Grove, just kind of roll it into the projects we were already doing at those schools.
And just to clarify, like what we're giving you permission, you need this permission in order to apply for the grant, right? So like,
Well, we would need it to accept the grant.
Right.
So, if we were awarded it, we wouldn't be able to accept it, without your blessing. And I would see, kind of going back to what you asked, Robert, similarly to the solar panels, like we took that through operations mostly, and what things bid out at, and where to put the location of certain things. So most of that was front loaded, and then once those decisions were made, then it ran.
and when do we expect to hear back?
They said fall, and I read October, but we'll see.
So really kind of recap what you said, what we're doing is approving the ability to apply and accept it, and then any recommendations would have to go through a bid contract and then come back to the board for approval. So we're not spending this money, we're approving, accepting it so that we could
We're committing
apply.
to the 150.
Yeah, committing to
Are
the
we, or?
process of the
Up
The
to.
process.
Yeah, I think it's up to, I think we can
Yeah.
apply
Yeah.
projects, the way I'm understanding is we can bid projects against this amount, with the understanding that we get a 25% reimbursement. Up to 150.
Get a 75% reimbursement.
Yeah.
Sorry,
it's-
75%, yes, yeah, you got it.
And I would assume there's no penalty if we were to say yes and then be like, oh wait, we couldn't find the 150,000. We're pulling out of that. Okay.
Just one other thing I wanted to comment, this has come up a couple of times in legislation, that there's several legislators, particularly down south, that want to require schools to get the critical incident data mapping. They've not been able to pass that legislation because they don't have the mandate funded, and they can't pass a mandated, a legislation without having the funding for it. So this is an opportunity to possibly circumvent, when it does become mandated, we'll already be past that, not having to figure out where to get the entire, where the entire funding is gonna come. So just looking at it from that end, like it has been brought up, I wanna say the last 4 or 5 legislative sessions. And so this is a result of that because of the fact that they have not been able to get it through as a mandate yet. So just being cautious that like in 4 years, we may have to do this anyway. This way, we're getting reimbursed for a larger portion of it.
All right. You call vote.
I'd be happy to. Bianchini? Yes. Ronstadt?
Yes.
Pfister?
Yes.
Grimke?
Yes.
Camardo?
Yes.
Friedland? Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, next up are committee updates. First up is Mr. Grimpy. Thank you for filling in at last week's NSSEO meeting as the sub-alternate representative.
Yeah, no problem. I was happy to do so. My notes are all in the board book. A couple of highlights are, I'd say the theme for the school year is Deep Roots, High Branches. It's kind of a cool logo where the roots equal, as far down as they go, equal as high up as the branches go. It's kind of a neat logo. Dr. Schnorr announced she'd be leaving at the end of the 26-27 fiscal year, which is the end of June. The board did not determine if they're going to go out to an agency because a lot of the data that they have when they hired Dr. Schnorr is still pretty valid. So they may just go with IASB as their firm or go without a firm. That they're going to decide at the next meeting. I threw in some data in my notes about the extended school year, and then like Dr. Megley mentioned, they're going to vote again on the union is going to vote again on ratifying the contract. Other than that, everything is in the notes, and I'm happy to entertain any questions if anyone has any.
Okay, thank you. Next was the policy committee. Mrs. Friedland?
Well, Jody stole all my
Oh, yeah.
glory. No, actually, so this policy meeting was probably one of our shortest, but that was due to the fact that there were no real additions or deletions or edits that impacted like the context of the policies that we looked through. Most of them were updates either from a 5-year review, just a review for language or for any legislative changes, or there were changes in the footnotes. So this was one of our, I feel like, least eventful, but it was good to kind of be able to discuss that 370 policy to make sure that we have something in place. And when we talked through it, it'll be updated on an as needed basis. You know, even though we would love Jody to be here for forever, when it comes the time, you know, for we'll look at it again and kind of speak through if there are any changes to the way that progression and transition of authority would. Oh, I apologize, and I'm sorry. So please do read the policy. It will be on the consent agenda for our next meeting.
Thank you. All right, next up is the President's Report. It's a busy month. As I want to remind you, Dr. Megley sent out the board calendar of events, the Google Sheet where we can sign up for spots to attend. So if you see something that catches your eye, please sign up. It was great to be in the school. So students return on Wednesday, August 19th for grades 1 through 8, August 20th for kindergartners, and August 21st for pre-K. At Euclid School on Monday, we have August 17th, school supply drop-off at 5 p.m. Thursday, August 27th, there's a PTC ice cream social at 6 p.m. On Wednesday, September 2nd, there's curriculum night at 6 p.m. At Indian Grove School on Monday, August 17th, school supply drop-off at 4:30. Friday, August 21st is back to school bash at 6 p.m. And Thursday, September 3rd is curriculum night at 6 p.m. Prairie Trails, Wednesday, August 19th is the kindergarten meet and greet. Thursday, August 20th is pre-K meet and greet. Friday, August 28th is the back to school, PTC back to school bash. And Wednesday, September 9th is curriculum night starting at 6 p.m. River Trails Middle School on Tuesday, September 1st is open house night, 6 p.m. And school will be closed the district will be closed for Labor Day on September 7th. Our next board meeting is right after that on September 8th at 7 p.m. right here at River Trails Middle School, potentially with a 6:30 closed session start time, so same as tonight. Moving on to policy and communications to the board, we received 2 emails which are located in the board book for your review. I think it's always great when we get these emails to the board. I wanted to express and thank one of them. There was a letter that we received about adding AI to the strategic plan, and Dr. Meggerly provided a thoughtful email response back. I also wanted to say that I appreciate the thought behind the recommendation, and I completely agree that our students need to understand AI and how to use it responsibly and how it will impact their education and future careers. Mrs. Johnson's not here tonight, but her and I attended many of the strategic plan meetings, and I didn't know a lot about developing a strategic plan from the school district. I've done some with like businesses and companies, and I think when we wrote we brainstormed, there was post-it notes on the board, there's a lot of priorities and ideas that went into the process, but intentionally the strategic plan was left broad with big things we want to accomplish to provide long-term direction, specific curriculum and training and how we get to those broad objectives lie underneath it, and then the work to be done. So I think AI is a great example of how that might fit in. So the technology and guidance of AI is changing so quickly that what we do today might not apply 5 years down the road, because it will look different as it did 5 years before this. But that doesn't mean that the district is not addressing AI. So we're now in our 3rd year of using AI in the classroom, and we were one of the first districts in our area to develop a written AI plan for students and staff. And that plan includes guidelines for how AI should and shouldn't be used in the classroom, as well as how staff should use it, and also the ethical considerations to using AI. We actually review this plan every year. It's normally, the AI plan is normally posted on our website. It's temporarily down because we're completing this year's review of the AI policy. I also believe that the AI policy, where it fits in the strategic plan, is one of our goals. So we have a goal of developing modern and consistent curriculum, and I think I support finding ways to teach and integrate responsible AI use, but I don't believe we need to amend the current strategic plan to accomplish that because we have a plan in place. So I appreciate the community member for bringing this forward. It's an important conversation. I think every day I'm learning as I go, and I think it's important to keep kids learning that as well. So, and I'm glad that our district was so proactive in starting the policy.
Thank you.
Feedback on
Thank you
this?
for just taking time to consider and review all of that. I appreciate your response.
Next up is future topics. We don't have any pending future topics. Does anybody have an idea for future topic consideration? Okay. I hereby entertain a motion in a second to adjourn the meeting at 8:25 p.m.
So moved.
Moved by Grimpy. Second by Bianchini.
Ronstadt,
Yes.
Camardo,
Yes.
Bianchini,
Yes.
Grimpy,
Yes.
Pfister,
Yes.
and Friedland. Yes.
Motion carries.
Sorry, I did it again, guys.
Motion carries.
I'm like,
Thank
of
you,
course I
everybody.
want to be done. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. Thank you.